This was early on in the protests after George Floyd was killed. It was in New York, and before the whole thing turned into what it turned into as a major nationwide hullabaloo in Portland, and protests and counter protests and injection of whatever was injected into it by provocateurs in the White House and outside of the White House and various movements. It was just New York City people protesting, and there was a bunch of people that were protesting one night, and they got trapped on the Brooklyn Bridge, and they were stuck on the Brooklyn Bridge. There was cops at one end of the Brooklyn Bridge, and there was cops at the other end of the Brooklyn Bridge, and they had to get home before curfew because they were just, kids from Iowa and Indiana and Ohio and North Carolina who were living in Brooklyn and come across the bridge to protest in Manhattan. They were trying to get home before they got their heads cracked by the cops, and they were stuck. They were stranded, over the East River. And that was that moment that I realized how we're all stuck, how we all become stuck, trapped, hanging by a thread. 5,000 protesters trapped on a bridge between America and America. 5,000 of them trapped on a bridge. 5,000 peaceful and fearless and wise. No rioters, no looters, no thugs, no provocateurs of any type, agency, or political stripe. American to the core, young and Whitmanic too. Yes, I can say that. Great in their diversity and energetic in their vision and optimism of hope. Hanging by a thread of filament of steel between Brooklyn and Manhattan Island tonight. By injustice provoked, by injury to the body and soul of their nation provoked, by their own grace provoked, by their anger over the death in Minnesota of a man named George Floyd, provoked, made fearless by the electricity of their cause, made wise by their open-eyed youth, tested against the fires of injustice, set once too often in a damaged land, young, American, righteous, undegraded, the unstained restorative power of their uplifted voices. Insistent, sure voices raised in curious chorale, almost unexpected, yet they will always be raised. It is the nature of a free people to raise their voices against oppression, raise them together, made strong, rekindle the spirit of the people. 5,000 protesters, young, angry, trapped on a bridge between America and America, who can no longer allow injustice to hold sway, or allow police brutality and racism and hate, or the division of brother from brother or sister from sister to hold sway. 5,000 protesters because the idea of America is greater than its errors. No matter that the great American idea maybe temporarily seemed to be abandoned, because the possibility of tear gas and busted heads and arrest and being hauled off bloody and proud in a police wagon is better than being silent. 5,000 protesters, America's daughters and sons, hemmed in on both sides by cops in armor with shields and guns and billy clubs and gas masks, and thousands of handcuffed ripties who are young themselves, the cops, who are young themselves, the cops, and American too, and must therefore eventually give way to protesters. 5,000 protesters cuffed tonight by stone, tower, and cold steel, as well as by circumstance and grim necessity. Between heaven above and the deep, damaging waters of the East River surging below.